You've probably felt it before, right? That nagging sense you're working hard, grinding every day, but somehow you're still stuck, like you're running in place, watching others zoom past you toward wealth and success. It's frustrating, and you're not alone. Most people feel this way because they were missing something critical about money, something the top 1% understand deeply. Today, I'm going to walk you through exactly why only 1% of people become truly wealthy and what the other 99% refuse to learn about money. We'll break it down in a simple, practical way that clicks. This isn't about complicated financial jargon or get-rich-quick schemes. It's about real, actionable ideas that can shift how you think and act with money. Over the next few minutes, we're going to have a conversation about the mindset, habits, and choices that separate the wealthy from everyone else. These are things you can start applying today, no matter where you're at. Ready? Let's dive into the first big piece that most people overlook. The first big lesson: money follows value, not effort. Picture this. You wake up, check your phone, and start your day. You're hustling. Maybe you're working a 9 to 5, running a side gig, or even studying to get ahead. You're putting in the hours, but your bank account doesn't seem to care. Why? Because money doesn't reward effort alone. It rewards value. The top 1% know this, and it's why they focus on creating something the world needs, not just clocking in hours. Think about it like this. Imagine you're at a coffee shop. The barista makes your latte, and it's great, but it's worth $5 because that's the value of a quick coffee. Now, compare that to someone who invents a new kind of coffee machine that saves businesses millions. That person's not working harder than the barista. They're just delivering more value. The 99% get stuck chasing hours, thinking more work equals more money. The 1% chase impact, knowing that's what opens the floodgates to wealth. Here's a real-world example. Let's say you're a graphic designer. You could spend 10 hours making a logo for a small business and charge 100. That's all effort. But what if you created a design course teaching thousands of people how to make their own logos? You might spend the same 10 hours, but now you're reaching millions and earning way more. Same effort, bigger value. The 1% don't work harder. They work smarter by solving bigger problems for more people. But here is the catch. Most people don't even realize they're stuck in this effort trap. They keep doing the same thing, hoping for a different result. And that brings us to a question that keeps a lot of people up at night. If it is about value, how do you figure out what's valuable? That's the next piece of the puzzle, and it's something the 99% rarely stop to think about. This leads us to the first big lesson that almost nobody wants to hear. To create wealth, you have to rethink what you're offering the world. Finding what's valuable. The skill of seeing opportunities. So, we just talked about how money follows value, not effort. But here's where it gets tricky. How do you know what's valuable? The 1% don't just stumble into wealth. They've mastered the skill of spotting opportunities the 99% walk right past. It's like they're wearing glasses that let them see what others miss. Let me paint a picture for you. Imagine you're walking through a busy market. Stalls are everywhere, people are shouting about their products, and it's chaos. Most people just buy what's in front of them. A cheap trinket, a quick snack. But the 1%, they're not shopping, they're observing. They notice the stall with a long line and ask, why are people flocking there? They see a gap. Maybe nobody's selling fresh juice in that market. And they think, I could fill that need. Let's bring it to real life. Think about someone like Sarah, a regular office worker. She's good at her job, but she's not getting rich. One day she notices her coworkers are always stressed about organizing team projects. There's no good, simple tool to make it easier. Most people would shrug and move on, not Sarah. She spends her evenings building a basic app that streamlines project tasks. It's not fancy, but it solves a real problem. She shares it online and soon companies are paying her to use it. Sarah didn't work harder than her coworkers. She just saw a gap and filled it. The 99% miss this because they're too busy reacting to life. They're focused on paying bills, hitting deadlines, or scrolling through their phones. The 1% pause and ask, what's not working here? What can I improve? It's not about being a genius. It's about being curious. And here's the kicker. You don't need a big idea to start. Small problems are everywhere. Fix one, and you're already ahead of most people. But even when you spot an opportunity, there's something else that trips up the 99%. It's not just about seeing the gap. It's about believing you can fill it. That doubt, that little voice saying, who am I to do this? It's a wealth killer. And that's what we're going to tackle next. This brings us to the second big lesson most people avoid. Confidence in your ability to create value is just as important as the value itself. Overcoming the confidence barrier. Believing you can deliver. We just talked about spotting opportunities. seeing those gaps in the market or in everyday life that others miss. But here's where most people hit a wall. Even when they see the opportunity, they don't believe they're the ones to seize it. The 1% don't just find valuable ideas, they have the confidence to act on them. Let's break this down with a story that might feel familiar. Picture Alex, a guy who's always been good at fixing things around the house. Friends call him when their sink clogs or their Wi-Fi goes down. He's got a knack for it. One day, he notices his neighbors are always complaining about overpriced repair services that take forever. There's a clear need for affordable, reliable home repairs. Alex could start a small business, right? But here's what stops him. That voice in his head. I'm not a business guy. I don't have a fancy degree. What if I mess it up? Sound familiar? That's the confidence barrier, and it keeps the 99% stuck. The 1% aren't immune to doubt. They just push through it. They know confidence isn't about feeling perfect. It's about starting before you feel ready. Take someone like Lisa, who loved baking cookies for her friends. She wasn't a trained chef, but she noticed people raved about her recipes. Instead of thinking, I'm not qualified, she started selling at local markets. Her cookies flew off the table. Today, she runs a thriving online bakery. She didn't wait for a certificate or permission. She acted. Here's the thing. Confidence isn't something you're born with. It's built by doing. The 1% start small, learn as they go, and let each step prove they're capable. Most people wait for a sign they're good enough, but the wealthy know that action creates the proof. You don't need to know everything, just enough to take the first step. If you're liking this conversation and want more insights like these to help you rethink money and success, hit that subscribe button now. It's a small action that keeps you connected to ideas that can change your game. Plus, it helps me keep bringing you this kind of content. Back to our point. Confidence is key, but there's another layer to this. Even when you believe in yourself, you need a system to turn opportunities into results. That's what separates dreamers from doers, and it's where we're headed next. This leads us to the third big lesson most people ignore. Turning opportunities into wealth requires a simple, repeatable system. Building a system, turning opportunities into results. So, we've covered spotting opportunities and building the confidence to act on them. But here is where the rubber meets the road. The 1% don't just see possibilities and jump in, they create systems to make success repeatable. The 99% often wing it, hoping for a lucky break, but the wealthy know that real results come from structure. Let's paint a picture to see how this works. Imagine you're at a gym. Some people show up, do random exercises, and leave feeling good but seeing no progress. Others follow a workout plan, specific exercises, sets, and rest days. Guess who gets stronger? The person with the plan. Wealth works the same way. The 1% don't rely on one-off wins. They build systems that keep delivering results. Think of it like a machine. Once it's set up, it runs smoothly and keeps producing. Let's look at Maria, a freelancer who designs websites. At first, she's all over the place, taking random gigs, working late, and barely making ends meet. Then she creates a system. She standardizes her pricing, sets up a portfolio website, and uses a simple script to pitch clients. She also schedules time each week to reach out to new leads. Suddenly, her income doubles, not because she's working harder, but because she's working smarter. Her system turns opportunities into consistent cash flow. The 99% miss this because they think systems are complicated or only for big businesses. But a system can be as simple as a checklist or a routine. For example, let's say you want to save money. Instead of hoping you'll have extra cash, set up an automatic transfer to a savings account every payday. That's a system, small, repeatable, and effective. The 1% apply this to everything: saving, investing, networking, even learning new skills. They make progress automatic. Here's a real-world twist. Systems don't just help you earn, they help you scale. Take someone who starts a small online store. They could fulfill every order themselves, but that's a trap. The 1% would set up a system, maybe automate order processing or hire a part-time helper, so they can focus on growing the business. It's about working on the business, not in it. But there's one more piece to this puzzle. Even with a system, the 99% often stumble because they don't stick with it long enough to see results. That's the final hurdle, and it's a big one. This brings us to the fourth big lesson most people dodge. Consistency in your system is what turns small actions into massive wealth. Sticking with it. Consistency turns systems into wealth. We've talked about spotting opportunities, building confidence, and creating systems to make success repeatable. But here's the final piece that ties it all together. Consistency. The 1% don't just start strong. They stick with their systems until they compound into real wealth. The 99%, they give up too soon, chasing shiny new ideas or getting discouraged when results aren't instant. Let's break this down with a story that might hit close to home. Picture Jamie, who decides to start a blog about fitness tips. He's excited, writes a few posts, and shares them online. A month in, he's got a handful of readers, but it's not blowing up. Most people would quit here thinking, this isn't working. Not Jamie. He sticks to his system, posting twice a week, engaging with readers, and learning basic SEO. 6 months later, his blog's getting steady traffic. A year in, brands are paying him for sponsored posts. Jamie didn't do anything magical, he just kept showing up. This is where the 1% pull ahead. They understand that wealth, like fitness or learning a skill, comes from small, consistent actions that stack over time. Think of it like planting a seed. You water it daily, but it doesn't sprout overnight. The 99% stop watering when they don't see a tree in a week. The 1% keep at it, knowing the growth is happening underground, where it's invisible at first. Here's a real-life example. Compound interest. If you invest $100 a month at a decent return, it might feel like nothing for the first few years. But stick with it for 20 years, and that small habit can grow into hundreds of thousands. The 1% get this. They play the long game. Whether it's investing, building a business, or learning a new skill, they commit to showing up even when it feels slow. Now let's connect the dots. Spotting opportunities gets you in the game. Confidence lets you take the first step. Systems make your efforts repeatable. But consistency? That's what turns those efforts into life-changing results. You don't need to overhaul your life. Just pick one small system and stick with it. Maybe it's saving $10 a week or spending an hour a day learning a new skill. Start small, stay steady, and watch how it snowballs. And here's where I need you to show me you're in this. If any part of this video clicked for you, if you were ready to start building your own path to wealth, drop a comment below and just say, I'm in. It is a small way to commit to yourself and let me know you may with me till the end. Let's keep this energy going. So, to wrap it up, you don't need to be a genius or have all the answers. The 1% aren't special. They just see opportunities, act with confidence, build simple systems, and stay consistent. That's the formula. Start with one small choice today, and you're already closer to the life you want. You deserve that.